I am joined by Robert Griffin III, James White, Field Yates Neenekeims.
All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everybody? Mike Kadlick here. Tayler Kyles there, back with another AMA Friday members-only mailbag here on the Patriots Daily Podcast, powered by you guys. Like we say, no sponsors, at least for the live folks here on these AMAs, because it is members only, as you guys are members of our exclusive Patriots tiers, as you see on screen. If you want to tell your friends, rookie starters, all pros, GOAT status, all that fun stuff here on the channel. So spread the word. If you like it, I'm sure you will continue to, because we're going to come here every Friday and answer some of your questions. We'll answer them as they trickle in, along with hitting some pressing Patriots news today, which is, well, you guys talked about it yesterday a little bit, I think, before the mock draft, that Joe Milton was officially traded to the Dallas Cowboys. And on that note, Josh McDaniels spoke yesterday, as well as special teams coordinator Jeremy Springer today, as well as some offensive and defensive assistants. So we're going to hit on all that before we get to your questions and wrap up today's show with an all defensive mock draft. Before we get started, Taylor, we haven't potted since Wednesday. Feels like an eternity, even though it's only Friday. It's probably been less than 48 hours, but how we doing? And are you watching any shows lately? Because I'm through like 5 episodes of Landman, and it's freaking awesome so far.
I'm good, man. I watched a few episodes of Landman, and I think that I liked it, but I think that watching Yellowstone kind of set me up for failure, because I can see all the same archetypes. Like, I like, there's basically just certain, like, there's the hyper feminist who's like, you know, it just like feels very like thickly layered on. There's the like kind of crazy, annoying daughter. Honestly, I just don't like the way he writes women in the show, to be very honest. I think that's kind of the thing that got me off board, where his wife's like, I'd be so much happier if you were just around. I was like, dude, come on, man. Like, she's just annoying the hell out of me. She doesn't feel like a real person. But I love Billy Bob Thornton. The first episode, What Happens, was pretty nuts. I'm going to try it again. It's just like, honestly, there was the women in the episode in the show were very prominent in one episode, and I was just like, I don't like how they're written. This is like a man writing. I don't want to sound like that kind of guy, but like, it sounds like a man writing a woman, and it was kind of tough for me, to be honest.
100%. It's the same. I found out it's the same writers as Yellowstone, so it's that Taylor Sheridan. So it's the same type stuff. Where, I mean, I mentioned it's kind of like just Yellowstone, but with oil. That's basically what it is. But you mentioned too how it kind of sets it up for failure. Like, I feel like Yellowstone's a little bit more intense, and it's a little bit better of a written show. There's a little bit more like storyline action.
Like, Beth is awesome. I love Beth. And I feel like none of the women in the show are even they're like all the women in that show that I don't like. Although, again, it's much better, which is weird. I don't know what happened, but it just feels very like jarring to me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
No, I'm with you. But at any rate, let's talk Patriots. The Patriots traded quarterback Joe Milton yesterday to the Dallas Cowboys. It was in exchange. It was Milton and a 7th-round pick in exchange for a 5th-round pick. I want to get your thoughts on it before I give mine, because I did not see your opinion on it, so I'm curious your take on it.
You don't watch our stuff?
It's been no, I know. Well, you guys were mock drafting yesterday. I was like, you know what? I can't get myself to sit down for it, but I will get into it eventually. But that being said, Joe Milton gets traded. It was a very polarizing move. I feel like people are on complete opposite ends of the spectrum here, whether it was awesome or not awesome. What's your take on the Patriots getting rid of Joe Milton?
Well, you know me, water carrying Kyles over here. I really should not have just made that up, but it kind of does have a good ring to it. But I wanted to find, kind of, just because I wanted to understand where people were coming from, and I do. But like, we're talking about day 3 picks. If a 4th was on the table, like they were offered it, I would feel a little bit more annoyed. But this is a situation where Joe Milton is like turning 26. He played in one NFL game against, as we said, not preseason, but still backups. I mean, I think it's crazy that people thought that he was going to get a day 2 pick. That was never on the table. I don't think we ever took that as a serious consideration. It was like, if you're very lucky, maybe someone offers a 4th. According to Albert Breer, and he and Jordan Schultz really add a lot of context to this, Milton grew up a Cowboys fan. His family are all Cowboys fans. He wanted to go there. The Patriots signed Joshua Dobbs knowing that they weren't going to keep Joe Milton. And I know people were saying, well, they didn't have to trade him at all. They had leverage. But no, I don't think that's true. I think that they, wanted to negotiate in good faith and send Joe Milton somewhere ideal as long as they got some decent return out of it. And if it's a difference between a fourth and a fifth, or like, maybe you didn't have to give up the seventh, like, I don't really care. This is consistent so far. Like, yes, you've had to release some people, and I think that's a totally different situation. But I think that they've tried to help players and send, like with Judon, they wanted to send him somewhere that he wanted to be. If that's what you want to be, I think it's goodwill with players. It keeps you a good reputation in that vein. And also, if you want to trade with that team again, they might remember the time that you didn't bend them over the barrel over Joe Milton and try to get a 4th round pick out of them, or just like, hey, I don't want to give up that 7th. Like, I know for us it seems significant. For these guys, like, they can get a 7th round pick back somehow. They can get into the 4th round. I just don't think it's as big of a deal as people made it out to be. I understand why they're upset, but again, considering what the situation was, they wanted to do right by Joe. Joe wanted to go be a Cowboy instead of go somewhere he could be the starter. It is what it is. It's a cut dry situation, and as Albert Breer said, there was no other offer. There were talks, but
that's the thing. Yeah.
Like, again, I get the frustration, but like, people were pissed, and that was where I was just like, I can't get. It's draft season. Like, we have enough to talk about. This doesn't need to dominate the headlines.
Yeah, I can't get behind the idea that this was somehow like a monumentally bad trade, which is frankly what people are trying to say, where, oh my God, he's going to go out there and he's going to shine. Like, is Joe Milton even good? Like, can we just ask that question? Because yes,
I want to say yes, but we don't know.
We don't know. He had a decent preseason. He played a really solid backup role, or coming in relief role for Drake May in that final regular season game. There's no taking that away from him. But what we know of Joe Milton as a college prospect was how volatile he was. He would be really good for a stretch of games. He would be really bad for a stretch of games. Patriots could have just gotten the really good stretch of games as well, in that sort of up and down streak with Joe Milton. Now, the development, I think, was clear. I think you saw that from him, even in the limited snaps we saw in that Week 18 game. But I don't think they were going to get any more than they did. Now, if there was an offer on the table for a 3rd, for a 4th, which it doesn't sound like there was, and I know Jordan Schultz mentioned that there may have been, but it doesn't sound like that's truly the case. So, look, if they didn't take a 3rd or a 4th, that would piss me off, because as much as I like Joe Milton, as much of a good guy he was or seemingly was in the locker room, and as fun as he was to watch, like, the Patriots don't owe him anything, realistically.
Especially a new regime.
Right. And so to send him to Dallas just because he wanted to and to get screwed on compensation, that would bug me. But it doesn't sound like they did. So they were able to sort of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, send him where he wanted to go to Dallas, which odd, because I don't see him competing for a job with Dak there unless they think maybe Dak can get hurt, which he has shown the ability to in the past. But that being said, it doesn't look. What they did was essentially they moved up from the 7th round to the 5th round in exchange for Joe Milton. That's not that bad, considering he was going to probably be inactive for most of, if not the entire year, because Josh Dobbs is in the room, who's gonna serve as the backup. And I think that was the case. That was relayed to Josh Dobbs when he signed here, according to Breer as well. So May's your guy. Dobbs is the veteran, knows he's the backup. If Joe Milton was going to pull the Bailey Zappi, hey, I deserve to start here too. Like, as much as I think, hey, maybe Mike Vrabel should be able to weather that kind of storm, it's still real. If Drake May throws an interception and Joe Milton's on the sideline and Gillette Stadium's up in arms calling for Joe Milton, like, that's going to start unnecessary things. And so to get him out of the building for this, for moving up to from a 7 to a 5th, is totally fine by me. I don't expect Joe Milton to be a long-term starter in this league. I just don't. And if he is, all the power to him. He was still a 6th round pick, and they didn't, it's not like they're losing any value here. They stayed equal, if not gained a little bit more. So I just don't have a problem with it. And I can't convince myself that they somehow made like a monumentally bad trade here.
And they said that, I think it was Breer also mentioned that they wanted a room that was conducive to Drake May, gave him more resources. Obviously, Joe Milton doesn't fit because they were drafted together. There's not a whole lot Joe Milton can give to Drake May in terms of helping him become a better player,
right.
Because he doesn't have any veteran experience. So if they add anybody, I know that Alex thinks they're going to get somebody at the end of the draft. They could.
Brady Cook.
Like someone who's like boring and not at all threatening to Drake May. But I could also just see a Trace McSorley situation where you bring in literally just a camp arm who's a good guy and could be a great presence in the room and share whatever he's learned from his time in the NFL. But I don't see how adding another quarterback, at least in this year, right, where you want Drake to be established. It's one thing when you're drafting a quarterback every year because you have Tom Brady, right? Yeah, it lights a fire, but no one actually thinks Tom's going to lose his job. It's another thing where literally we had headlines last year, as ridiculous as they were, saying that Joe Milton was in any way competition to Drake May, even though he literally wasn't getting enough reps to even have.
Robert Kraft said it himself after the season, said, hey, maybe now we have two quarterbacks. Like, that's the kind of stuff that you just, I'm sorry, I know that you need to have thick skin, but that's tough to have around the building, like things like that. It's just not conducive. It's not conducive to good football or having a good chemistry in the room.
Because it doesn't have anything to do with them. The media made that a thing. And then obviously Robert Kraft did as well. But yes, we don't have to keep beating this dead horse, but it's not a big deal. It's not a big, they got something. That's fantastic. They got a return on their investment. Kudos.
That's the way I think of it, right? A subtle return, the 7th to the 5th, and we don't need to keep hashing it, but it's not
played one non
right. That's the thing. Even if you consider moving up from the 7th to a 5th, a 6th in the aggregate, whatever, like you still got a year out of it. And if anything, you get rid of a potential problem in the process. So I can't, we're on the same page here. I can't figure out a way to be upset by this. On the same day though, Josh McDaniels returns to Foxboro. He is the Patriots OC once again, as we know, spoke to the media for the first time, seemed elated, was very happy, looks skinny. Looks like Josh has been in the gym as well. But on that note was, and I quote, smitten by quarterback Drake May. Talked about how they haven't gotten together football-wise yet, but they've gotten to know each other a little bit, and that, you know, he seems really excited to work with a guy like May. So we have a couple of clips here. We'll play Josh McDaniels on Drake May as well as the O-line first. We'll react to a couple of those. So here is Josh on Drake May and the Patriots offensive line.
Where has Drake May been relative to what you expected?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to really do football with him yet, Tom, but you know, that'll come. We'll have plenty of time here coming up next week. But I'm smitten by the young man in terms of just his personality. You know, we've had an opportunity to spend some time that has nothing to do with football with one another, which I think, you know, has been great, very beneficial and productive to get to know him, who he is, what he's all about, what he cares about. Where he's coming from, his family, and Michael, you know, wedding plans, you know, all that stuff. We've kind of had an opportunity to talk about those kind of things. So, you know, I think next week and beyond will be super fun for me to really get to know him from a football perspective and start teaching our terminology and language and seeing how he learns best and how he acclimates. But I couldn't be more excited about the young man that we have.
It's obviously very early in the process, but what's your overall feeling of confidence maybe in the state of the offensive line?
Yeah, I always start each year with a fresh perspective. You know, I wasn't here last year, and I know every player on our team is going to get a fresh start, you know, and we're going to give everybody our best. And our job is to take the guys that we have on our offense and make them better. And I think that's a huge part of an assistant coach's job, is to develop the players that you have.
So good stuff from Josh there. Talked about Drake. What are you saying?
He's smitten.
Yeah, smitten. He is very very happy to be working with Drake May. Sounds like he loves the man off the field, and we will see what we get on the field this year as the Patriots kick off their offseason program. But just wanted to get your thoughts on really McDaniels as a whole and what he said yesterday. We won't dive too far into much more about the, you know, he talked about the wide receivers and more clean slate stuff from them, and how Stephon Diggs is an exciting football player to be around as well. But your thoughts on that, and then I'll actually throw this in there as well to kind of kill two birds with one stone here. He talked about streamlining the language of the offense and how it's a language and they kind of want to keep it the same, but also work to, again, streamline it. He's been working with Thomas Brown and Ashton Grant and all those guys. So your thoughts on Josh in general, what he had to say, and how exciting this could be for the Patriots offense.
I mean, the streamlining thing was really my takeaway because Josh has done this before. He is a 6-time Super Bowl champion. He knows exactly how to speak to the media, be cordial, leave us, thinking that was a nice conversation. And then the second he leaves, you're like, wait a minute, he didn't say anything.
Yep.
That's like basically what all of us are saying after it was. It's kind of like eating a rice cake, maybe a flavored rice cake,
Yeah, that was delicious. Wait a minute. Why is my stomach still rumbling? Yeah.
I'm still starving. That was my first interaction with McDaniels. Though I don't think any of us have actually, have we? No,
I was not here. No, Patricia was my first year.
Yeah, so that was my first interaction. It was so funny. I wanted to get a question in, and it was towards the end. This has nothing to do with it, obviously, but this is for the members only, so you're going to get the good stuff. Not really. So he looked at me. I was trying to ask a question. I think Sophie went, and I was like, all right, I'll let you go. And then it was towards the end, and I wanted to so badly, and he looked me dead in the eye. And I was like, do I try to force it? And I almost did, but I got scared because Stacy.
I'm sure Stacy was like, come on, get out. Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm not going to. Stacy's not a man you make upset. You like Stacy happy. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to shut up.
That's so funny.
But I didn't get to ask him anything. But that was really the one statement I thought that stood out because I think it just is going to calm any of the people who still weren't on the boat of like Josh McDaniels is not this overlord who's like bullying young receivers, just being like, oh, you can't learn it yet? You're going to figure it out, idiot. Like he made a joke. Somebody asked him about it. When we was asked a question, he was like, I'd argue that some young receivers picked it up pretty well.
Yes, exactly. I think it was Volin who asked, this has been an offense where people seem to not be able to catch on. And he answered the question was like, but I don't think that's really the case. And kind of like gave a smile. I thought that was pretty funny.
Exactly. And I'm sure that it's still difficult, by what the system is, it's understanding, but you need to understand it. It's not memorization, like learning a 1 through 10 route tree or 1 through 9 route tree where it's, oh, this number means this. It's like these things are in families. And if you don't know what's going, when it clicks, it's awesome. But if it's kind of clunky, then it kind of all falls apart. So I think that's where the streamlining comes in. And you have to think about it, right? Josh spent almost his entire offensive coordinator tenure here with Tom Brady. And Tom Brady was already Tom Brady when Josh really took over. So he was trying to keep up with someone who was ahead of him. That's why this offense was so complicated, because he was catering to the guy who was the offense. But as we saw with Cam Newton, he adapted to that, right? We saw a lot more run game with the quarterback and things we never saw with Tom and only briefly saw with Jacoby Brissett, and even more than that. Then Mac Jones, we see a return to a lot of the Tom Brady stuff, but clearly in a way that, albeit a very intelligent, but a first-year quarterback was able to retain. And we saw that week 1 game was the best I think Mac Jones looked, other than maybe the wild card game. There was like the pick to Nelly that was mostly Nelly could have gone and get the ball. But like, also ironic that it was bookended. His first year, it was probably his 2 best games. But he's like making checks at the line. He's like changing things. And it's like, holy shit. Like this young kid, he really knows what's going on. And everyone was super impressed. So that I think doing it for not just Drake, but also the receivers. Because I think Drake's going to pick up the offense just fine. As quickly, if not, I don't want to say more quickly. I don't know how much smarter he is or anything like that. But he's at least been in the league. So I think he'll pick it up fine. But it'll be easy for the receivers as well. There's going to be a different standard if Matt Collins is out there, if Kendrick Bourne's out there, because they've been in this offense already. But at least it's going to give these young guys a fighting chance. And that's kind of exciting because, as we know, last year, poor Jalen Polk having to learn 8 different positions clearly was not the way to go.
I just saw a hilarious tweet from our friend Carlos Los Talks Pats, not in the chat today. I know he's a member, but he's not here. He tweeted a video of Shadur Sanders throw to Jimmy Horn at the Pro Day and goes, "I'm literally shaking. Shadur Sanders has had the greatest workout I've ever seen." Trying to really set that agenda to get Shadur Sanders into the top 3. So, one of Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter can fall.
Can't wait till that Jackson Dart Pro Day, baby.
I know. Oh yeah, that's the one where we really start throwing up the propaganda. But one other thing on the offense before we shift to defense, Doug Marone spoke as well yesterday. Talked about the arm length thing with Will Campbell and mentioned developing offensive linemen as well. So here's a quick clip from Doug Marone. We'll talk about that after.
The best of their ability, and that's on me. I'm a big believer in in development. And developing the players and taking them, I've always said coaching to me was the definition is being able to take a player where he can't take himself. And I think it's a great foundation. It's something that I'm going to take a lot of pride in. It's going to start with getting to know the players and what they do. It's going to start with a foundation and trying to take what they do well and implement those into what they do technically. So, trying to get the most out of someone at the end of the day. And if I don't, or if they don't play, to the level that people expect them to play, the first person I look at is myself. I'm the one that didn't do a good job. I've got to be the one that, has to be able to help them attain, to get to the best of their ability.
So we've done arm length so much on this show, Taylor. I'm sure you're exhausted with it just as much as I am, but it was asked of Marone again yesterday. Does your opinion change? Did your opinion change at all from what he said? I know he didn't get into it in that clip specifically, but, talking about it's more so how you use your arms rather than how short your arms are, where he's had guys with shorter arms act as if they have longer arms and then vice versa. So did any of his comments stand out to you yesterday on the arm length, but also just offensive line development in general?
If I have to hear that same quote again, I'm going to throw myself off my balcony. We know.
Okay.
And I'm not mad at him for saying it. He was asked it. And it's our job to ask him and get his opinion. But it is just the truth. It does not matter if you have 35-inch arms and you punch like this. If your timing is off, yes, I understand that. And that's what Mike Vrabel said. That's what any offensive line coach will tell you. If you have tools and you don't use them, what's the point? That's absolutely true.
Right.
If you have quick feet and you don't move them when you punch, it's going to mitigate that strength, of course. So that didn't really change anything for me. I thought it was interesting that he's already recruited Will Campbell. So there's some level of relationship with him already there. Armand Membu, he mentioned that he's already worked with a player who had to convert and switch sides of the offensive line. Also, something that people act like it never happens when half of the early picks last year switch sides. Talise Fuanga, Joe Alt, Tyler Guyton, Tristan Wirfs, I think, did it a year or two ago. And Membu's also more than athletic enough to play either side. If you're looking at him and saying, this guy can never play left tackle, I'm sorry, but I'm not. If you're a line coach, please tell me why. But if you're a novice eye like me and you're saying he can, I'm telling you, he's got the feet to play left tackle. At least I think so. So it was encouraging to hear that he's already had experience with it and he's comfortable at least doing it. Other than that, I also like that he mentioned he is BC through and through, dude. Guys
Really?
3 kids in BC apparently.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, no, he runs deep. But the fact that he mentioned the different style of player, having to teach different guys and switch up your philosophies. Because what I'd heard was he was pretty rigid and kind of a hard ass. So I was wondering, Vrabel's even acknowledged that it's a different type of athlete in this generation. And he was very, he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, no, you have to change. You can't be the same. And that was just nice to hear. But of course, we'll see how that actually translates when they get to the field.
Just wanted to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. If you want to get in on the action with us, head over there, use code CLNS. You get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Sure. So that is the offensive guys. I know Jeremy Springer spoke this afternoon as well, so I want to get to a little bit of that here in this AMA. I know we have some questions coming in as well. We will answer those after we touch on the defenders. I'm just trying to reset us here. We'll throw that on the screen because we're not talking about Josh McDaniels anymore. But submit your questions here because we will get to the AMA members' questions in a few minutes. And we'll also mock draft with all defenders before we get out of here. And head into our weekend. But Jeremy Springer spoke today. You asked him about Mac Hollins potentially having a spot on special teams. And in that, he also, I don't know if he was asked of it, but the idea of Christian Ellis also being re-signed and being a special teamer.
Oh, yeah, I asked him about him. And
that was you as well. Okay, so tell me about that. Tell me what you thought of Springer today. He also mentioned the kickoff and how they need to expect to field or defend more kick returns this year, and said that Parker Romo, the Patriots' current only kicker on the roster, should expect to have competition come in as well. So thoughts on everything Jeremy Springer had to say down in Foxboro today.
Yeah, all right. So I guess members are getting the cat because she's not going anywhere.
Perfect.
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me was what he said about Christian Ellis and Mac Hollins, because those are two guys that I was expecting to have pretty significant roles on special teams. Christian Ellis came to this team as a special teamer and obviously took on more of a defensive role, but primarily, still was a core guy on that side of the ball. And Matt Collins has been a special team everywhere he's gone. But he was saying that, like, I want those guys to succeed on offense and defense more than anything. If they're on special teams, that's great, but I'd rather see them shine elsewhere. And I was like, that's interesting. I've never really heard a special teams coach say that. Like, usually they're all like, hey, we work with everyone, so the more you can do and all that. That was very interesting that Matt Collins is not someone they see as a primary special teamer and depth receiver. I think they really see him as someone who can compete for a starting job. Now, with all the youth at receiver, that's not surprising, but it is a bit surprising when you consider the fact that Kendrick Bourne is here, and still someone who has experience in Josh's system, has had more success actually in Josh's system than Matt Collins had when he was in Vegas. Obviously, Stephon Diggs, even though he's not going to be around in the summer. And Demario Douglas is not a player you're looking to remove, right? Like, maybe once it comes to his final season, if you're thinking of moving him, sure. But right now, when you're star for talent and he is one of the better separators out of the slot in the NFL, I don't see, unless he can't pick up Josh's offense, I don't see why you'd want to move on from him. So I guess that was a bit surprising, but also really cool because it shows that they really do see something in these guys. And I'm a Matt Collins fan anyway. I have been for a while, so that's pretty cool. I'm trying to think of anything else. The kickoff, yeah, it pretty much is what it is. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Any eyes on any kickers out there, free agents you think they could bring in, or do you think this is a draft?
No, it sounded he did say John Parker knows that they're going to bring, and obviously they're not going to go with one kicker. But he knows that he's going to bring in competition. Mentioned that bad weather kicking isn't a deal breaker for him in terms of experience doing it. Because he's saying, like, if there's a good kicker out of Arizona, I'm not going to, not watch him because he doesn't have experience doing this. But he said he's going to test the hell out of him and try to make it as difficult as possible within their conditions if they're working that guy out. So
didn't him and Tom Quinn, didn't he say him and Quinn have watched like every kicker
kick chopped out, which I think
I guess that's what they're supposed to do.
If you locked yourself in a room for a day, I think you'd have half a day to spare.
That's a good point. Okay. So that's Jeremy Springer. One quote here as well from Mike Smith, Patriots outside linebackers coach, on Keon White. I'll play that.
The man, by the way, he is the man. Stayed with us late to talk, even when they were trying to get him out of there. Was actually, watch the video. His whole interview was awesome. He was he lived across the hall from Wes Welker at Texas Tech. They were there. Overlapped with them and Dole, I think, as well, or they at least know each other. And like he and Wes Welker are best friends. His son is named after Wes. Wes was a best man, or they were best men at each other's weddings. That was Mike Reese came in with the info, and then just like all of this information came out.
Why is Wes Welker not here then? That's annoying. Like, yeah, okay.
I really want.
We'll see about Todd Downing, and if that works out, then that'll be great. But it just feels like Wes Welker should be here. But regardless, here's Mike Smith on Keon White.
From him and how you feel like you can help elevate his game and take him to the next level.
Yeah, I am really excited about Keon. I think if you look at the history of the guys that I have coached, they are bigger rushers, right? That you think of the Rashawn Garys and the Zadariuses and the Tamba and Justin Houston and Daniil Hunter. I like big rushers. I like big athletic rushers, and I think he fits that mold. I think with guys like him, I mean he's got some learning to do. Like we all do. When you're done learning, you're done. But guys like that, you can move across the line. You can do different things with them, and I'm just really excited to put my hands on him. Love the way he plays. You can tell football means something to him when you talk to him. He's a serious guy, man, and he's meaner than a rattlesnake. I like that about him, but he's the type of guys, and I've had all different kinds of sizes and stuff, but I think he's got a good future.
So that's Mike Smith. Yeah, he does seem like a pretty cool dude. Not gonna lie, seems very excited, like you said about coaching Keon White. What do you make of, I guess, those comments? Anything else Smith had to say, but also what Keon White could do in this defense under Mike Smith? Yeah,
the Keon White one, big takeaway. That's why I wanted to ask about him, because when you mentioned the big rushers, like Keon, I always think of him as more of an interior guy. So I was curious what an outside linebackers coach would see him as, because Keon can play outside linebacker at a pretty high level as long as he, I think was coached well. And to hear that Mike Smith is this excited to work with him and mentioning the track record that he has, like this dude has coached multiple Pro Bowlers. And Zadarius Smith has followed him to, I think, a couple of spots. So that was really good to hear. And I'm trying to think of the other. I'm only thinking of the Wes Welker stuff.
That's okay.
Really, the
That's the
Keon
fun
one was
stuff.
my big one. That was my big takeaway.
All right. Well, let's answer a couple questions that are in the chat before we close it out here with an all defense mock draft on the PFF simulator. First and foremost, on the special teams route, Nelson Lloyd. First of all, thanks for being a member as always. But secondly, do you guys see Brendan Schooler having a bigger role on this defense? He says he hopes so because he is a beast. I will say he is a beast, and I guess depending on where the safety room shakes out, I mean, he had a little bit of a role last season, but what are your thoughts on him potentially stepping up in the safety room this year?
I'd love to see it, but there's so many safeties, and this is not a defense that uses a ton. Like they use a third safety, but more in dime and in obvious pass situations, not like the old Patriots. They would use their 3 safety nickel against like 2 tight end or 2 running back formations. So I would be surprised if it's bigger, especially because they have Marcus Epps. They already have Duggar and Peppers. You want to see if Marte Mapu can give you anything. I just don't really see, unless, Del Pettis and Marte Mapu really fall off with this regime, I don't really see where Brendan Schooler finds snaps.
Yeah, I'm with you. Another member asks, Taylor, first of all, they called you Tyler. Is your hat removable or is that surgically connected to your head?
When I need a haircut, this MFR don't come off.
Taylor needs to hit the barber, and then he will take his back.
Too broke for the barber, so we go with the hat. For now.
Normally, on a regular mailbag with all of our viewers, that's a question I would completely ignore. But the Veeb, as he is called here, he pays his hard-earned money to be on Press Pass, so he can ask whatever he wants. You gotta respect it. Okay, so that's Schooler. That's your hat. Talk about the wide receivers. Do you think Kendrick Bourne is still going to be here? Another question from Nelson. Says the new coaches don't have any loyalty to him, especially if Polk and Baker take a huge step. Now, the one thing I will say is that I don't know if it's loyalty, but as we know, McDaniels worked with Kendrick Bourne, and Kendrick Bourne played pretty well under Josh McDaniels here. So I think there's something to that where there's familiarity in the system. But again, with Polk, Baker, the clean slate stuff they talked about, it sounds like Todd Downing's excited to work with both guys. So is Kendrick Bourne safe, or do you think he's still fighting for a job here?
I don't think anybody, but even I would say virtual locks are Diggs, Demario Douglas, and Jalen Polk. And I wouldn't say Polk if he wasn't a second-round pick last year. I just don't think it would make – I know it's a new regime, but even still, it's a second-round pick. And this isn't like – he's not a bad kid. It's not like he's a bad player. He had a bad season, which happens, right? That happens to good players as well sometimes. And obviously, you got to prove something. So that's the only reason, though, because I just don't think they're going to move on from him that quickly. No one else is safe. I don't think anybody's a lock to make this roster. Kendrick Bourne, I think, has direct competition. It's in Diggs and it's in Mac Hollins. Those are the veterans, and they do need these young guys to step up. At the same time, Kendrick Bourne had some really great moments that, like, you don't really see. I think Kendrick Bourne, if he gives you what he was capable of in 2021, is probably more of a big play threat than any of the other veterans that you have. And maybe even some of the young guys in terms of consistency. So I think he's got a good shot to make it. And I think McDaniels and his experience in that system helps. But he's also going to be learning it a little bit differently. But obviously, huge head start. But if the young guys do take a step up, yeah, he could absolutely be off this roster. You're muted.
I was muted. There were sirens. There were fire trucks going by my apartment, so I muted it just in case people could hear it. But I was muted. Now I'm not. And I agree. I will say Kendrick Bourne having that leg up should help him earn a spot, but I don't think it's necessarily set in stone. I will say I do think he'll be here. I think a year out of ACL surgery mixed with the unknown and the frankly not great play of a guy like Javon Baker and even Jalen Polk last year gives him that even further step up. So I do think he'll be on the roster, but I don't think it's necessarily set in stone. He still has to perform and show that, you know, he can play quality football in order to make the team. I don't think his spot on the roster is penciled in. The Veeb asked another question and also said, sorry about the hat question, that he'll pay extra this month.
It's okay.
We have fun here. Don't sweat it. But he asks, how is it riskier to take Campbell at 4 rather than Membu? Campbell has short arms, but Membu has to move from right to left is a bit short for a tackle. I know we've done it before, but the members are asking again. Your thoughts on Campbell versus Membu, which, by the way, Taylor has a full breakdown for members, which the Veeb you can watch on the channel here. Film breakdown of Will Campbell versus Armand Membu. So Taylor, please answer the question, but also I urge you all to check that video out as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to go in depth because we do have the video. Make sure you check it out. But I would just say that with Membu, the switching sides is a legitimate risk if he doesn't have experience doing it, right? If you put the work in, like you just bring him in for a workout, you get him gassed, and then you see how much his technique falls off on the left side. If it scares you so much, you're like, I don't think he can function as a rookie, then yeah, you probably shouldn't take him even if he is a right tackle. I think the value is better there, but I think you do need to address the left tackle spot, and you have Morgan Moses right now. These maybe, if you want to replace him next year, maybe, but I don't think it makes sense to do that right now when you do have the glaring left tackle need. But yeah, Campbell is more of a risk because his upside is more limited. Like it's highly unlikely that he will ever be a great player on the outside because he doesn't have the measurables to compete with the best of the best on an even platform on a consistent basis. And that just is what it is. Like we've seen him against, like, I don't think anyone thinks Kyle Kennard or Nick Scouridon or like guys like that who are very talented. I don't think anybody thinks they're going to be elite rushers. And he had some bad losses against those guys. R. Mason Thomas, he's not even coming out this year, but I don't think he's going to be like a first round edge talent necessarily. And he was able to convincingly beat Campbell. So they both have their risks, but I think it just comes down to what guy do you like more? Like with Campbell, I think the leadership part of it, this is one thing I've been kind of comparing it to. It's not perfect, but think about it like this. If you could get Matthew Slater or better Matthew Slater, who didn't really talk, who would you take?
For his role and what he did, I would take Matthew Slater.
And that's why it's not perfect because it's a positional thing. But even Logan Mankins, right? Like he's not a Hall of Fame left guard, but he was like a Patriots Hall of Famer, and he was a guy who attitude-wise like set the tone. What if you would you rather have had I'm so sorry. It's Friday.
You're good.
A Hall of Fame left guard instead of Logan Mankins, who would make the Patriots Hall of Fame. He might even sneak into a Pro Bowl, but you know he's not the best guard.
Right.
Because Logan Mankins was the highest paid guard in football. This is still tough. Anyway, I don't want to keep doing this anymore. I'm gonna talk myself into a tissy, but it's just that's the idea. Where like Campbell does bring enough off the field, and also in that room would be probably the leader. Like attitude-wise, we love Mike Nwenu. I don't ever think he's really been that guy. He's taken on more of a leadership role, but he's not like, getting a captain's patch necessarily. He's never been voted a captain. Like that is what it is. And Morgan Moses, I think, is kind of similar to that, but Will Campbell could really be like that bad MFer on the O-line that kind of resets what that situation looks like in the trenches.
And on the note, one final one before we do our mock draft. Do you think they're going to add a veteran here or just wait till the draft? I don't see them adding anybody, but is there anyone out there you think they could add before over the next 3 weeks?
No one significant.
So like
Tyron Smith I don't think is going to sign with anybody until after the draft. I don't think anybody who is decent right now should sign before the draft because you want to be desperate. So no.
Yeah. All right. That's our AMA. Actually, one more. Sorry, Taylor. Who was your favorite Avengers Doomsday cast?
So many people. There's so many people. I'm glad Captain Marvel's not in it. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
I hate what they do with her. I sound like such a hardo, like wannabe, like I'm for the girls, but like really, man, I hate poorly written characters in minority demographics, poorly written characters of color, poorly written women, all of those things. If you just make them sound like they are representing an entire group of people, and it's like very obvious, I get so annoyed. And I think that's what they do with Captain Marvel. And I'm glad she's not in it because that'll save me some frustration.
All right. Well, I'm not.
I love Brie Larson though. I love Brie Larson, which is also why I hate it because Brie Larson is an absolute delight.
Okay. I can't give an opinion. No, you're good. I'm just not an Avengers guy, so I can't riff off it. So that's why I have to awkwardly transition into our all defensive mock draft. So we'll pull it up right now. We'll go pretty rapid fire here and get through some 7 rounds of Patriots drafting all defensive players. 4th overall pick, 7 rounds. We'll go fast. I don't really know how to
trades.
No trades. No,
it's all defense. Like I think we could be pretty concise with this one. Just hit the big ones.
Perfect. Right. Let's start the clock.
Abdul Carter. Give me Abdul Carter. Travis Hunter.
Nope.
Lock
Travis
it in.
Hunter.
Lock it in.
That's easy. Okay.
Cornerback
I'm
Travis Hunter, baby. That's such a
Make-
cheat. I don't care that we got him.
Can't. And it was Mason Graham. It wasn't even Shadur Sanders. That's
Oh, wow.
hilarious.
We would have gotten Mason Graham anyway. So, yeah, this is super easy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Never mind.
I took Travis. Why? What did you want me to do?
I was
Nothing?
going to say, I think Jalen Walker is also someone I keep hearing things about.
Yeah, I agree.
But you're taking Travis Hunter. You're not taking Jalen Walker. So
nope, you're right.
It's fine.
That would have been a
Graham. That would have been a discussion.
That would have been the discussion. Yep.
Sorry, I'm ahead of you today.
All right, pick 38. Let's
Tyleek
go.
Williams. I really like. The way he moved was crazy. Also Ohio State. Landon Jackson. I think there's going to be better interior value later. I don't love the edge depth towards the end. I like it, but I don't love it. I think Landon Jackson, though, he seems like a Vrabel guy. He's big. Okay. He's a freak athlete. He's looser than what you'd think. He's really grown as a pass rusher. Clearly cares. Seems like a great dude off the field. I watched some interviews of him. Watched Charles Robinson for Yahoo. He did a really great one with Landon. I'm feeling Landon, actually.
Chat says grab whoever this draft version of Tariq Woolen is.
We already got Travis Hunter.
Oh yeah, we have Travis. I was going to
talk about Siobhan Rebel, but we don't need a corner.
I was going to talk about Maxwell Harrison. He was one of my guys. Eamon Wari, I think that's how you say his name. He's a safety. He was a combine freak, but yeah, I'm with you. I think we need to go. You want Landon Jackson or Tyleek Williams?
Landon Jackson. We can get a defensive tackle later.
All right, let's roll.
We can put it on turbo.
We have pick 69. Here we go. Okay. Ursery's still on the board. I know we can't do it because it's defense, but
former Cowboys and 14. Oh, with the Rams. Oh, I think Trey Lance just signed with the Rams.
Oh.
So now we can. Oh wait. Who do we? Oh my God, I'm so tired.
Travis Hunter, Landon Jackson.
It's okay. We're gonna Ty Stewart. Alfred Collins, big boy in the middle. You got your solid piece beside what do you call it? Beside
Mason,
Milton Williams.
Mason. Yep. Okay.
Also, if you want to play 5 down fronts, Barmore, Alfred Collins, and Milton Williams with Keon White on an edge would be insane.
So it's Alfred Collins.
Yeah, this is
you don't want to go. Okay.
Big boy in the middle. Next, I think we take some more second level type defenders.
Okay.
Like
here, pick 77.
Chris Paul, bro. If we can get Chris Paul right now, we can look at some other stuff.
I like Chris Paul here, actually.
Yeah, Chris Paul. Let's do it.
All right.
It's so much, man. I wish they had a great offense because literally you could build a pretty ridiculous defense in this draft if you want.
Yeah. Corners, safeties.
Oh, corner, Jacob Parrish. I watched him. He really sticky man-to-man. I liked his poise throughout the route, except for at the top, which I'll talk about. Really great effort against the run. I saw him taking on offensive linemen. I think he can play outside. I wouldn't love it because he's like 5. I think he's like 5'10", something like that. Might be a little bit taller, might be a little bit shorter. But again, very sticky. I think he's got longer arms, so he's more competitive than a Marcus Jones. Does he have return experience? I think I might be mixing him up with somebody else. I don't think I'm not going to say because I don't know if he does for sure. But I liked his tape. The only issues that I had were that one, his balance is questionable. I saw him fall a few times, which is I don't like seeing that in my corners. Also, looked like he got panicky at the top of routes, like when the ball was coming. I thought he kind of guessed. But you're talking about a Marcus Jones replacement, like he feels kind of perfect.
Let's do it. You convinced me, baby.
All right. Who we got now? You can slide. Oh, Billy Bowman. It's got to be Billy.
Oh, yeah. I always forget you can slide. Thanks.
But we already have a slot, so I guess we don't need him that badly.
Huzzy.
The Huz, yeah.
The Huz. Yeah, I think that's the play, right?
I don't know these guys, to be totally honest. Chat, if you have any recommendations, let us know, because I don't know a lot of defenders past here other than Bowman.
I know Bowman and Huzzy. So we have 144 and 171. Should we
keep going down? Wait till I get to a name I know. RJ Oben, I know they worked him out.
Okay.
I don't know a lot about him, though, to be honest.
We can try. We can hope that Oben falls to 171. So we take Huzzy here and wait for the edge.
We already got a slot corner.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Let me look at Oben's scouting report. Versatile 3 and 5 technique with excellent length and bend to win in isolated opportunities along a defensive front. Overall, Oben touts many of the traits teams look for in a piece along their defensive front. A highly intelligent young man whose work ethic has come up multiple times in conversations with teams. Fine-tuning the small details should allow Oben to become a contributor on Sundays. That is from Ryan Fowler of Draft Network. Unfortunately, he is seen as a day 2 prospect. We are in the 5th round. I'll see if anybody else thinks he could fall. If not, this feels like a respect the board situation.
Okay.
If mock draft database has him as a 5th rounder, we can draft him. Has him as a UDFA. Take the man. We got more depth in the trenches.
RJ Oben. Thank you. Back on the board.
Don't mind if I do, Ben. Oh, my God.
But
I don't know why I said that. I can't believe that.
Who do we know?
Tim Smith. I've seen him beat Membu and Will Campbell in my tape study. Like Tim Smith on stunts, he actually does give tackles a little bit of problems. And I like him as a run defender and a pass rusher. Tim Smith is an easy one for me here.
All right. Tim Smith.
More interior depth, baby. That's what the name of the game is. Of the game is the name.
And 2
Mac
more
McWilliams,
picks.
If we're getting somebody after here. I know Mac McWilliams. He's usually around now. He's
the Tulane kid, right?
No. Colorado?
Oh, okay.
Or no, UCF.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. Is he gone?
Did he go?
Oh, Karen Reed.
Shout out Karen Reed. We should draft Karen Reed.
He came for a visit.
All right. Shout out Karen Reed.
Do we have any linebackers?
We took
not Boss. Oh, Chris Paul. They do different things. I'm cool with that. All right, is this our last pick?
Last pick.
Who do we got? I feel like Ty Robinson's too easy. Let's keep going and see if I see anybody else I know. Johnny Walker.
Here's Mac McWilliams.
There's a lot of guys I know here, actually. Yeah, Mac McWilliams. Go up a little bit. Dan Jackson. You got to get Dan Jackson. Apparently, he's just like, I'll read a scouting report. He's like one of my binkies at the end. I read his report a while ago, though, so let me see. White safety, first of all, in case Dan Jackson didn't give it away. Jackson projects as a core special teamer with 2 high safety flex. He sounds like Schooler. But here's where it stops. But his lack of athleticism and deep speed will limit his impact at the next level. The work ethic and football IQ will get him in on an NFL roster and keep him there. Sounds like a pretty guy to me.
On that note, that's our draft.
Travis Hunter there, hi there. We killed it everywhere. Maybe we should have gotten a safety. I kind of forgot about that. We have a million safeties. It's fine. We don't need trench depth.
All right, there's our draft.
So we got a brand new defensive line pretty much if we wanted it. We're
did.
sending out waves, baby.
We are. Well, that was fun. We'll tweet that out after. That's our all defense draft. Highlighted by Travis Hunter, who worked out today in Colorado. We worked out at receiver, which was exciting stuff. Looked pretty good. Was flashing those routes. And hey, maybe with all the contingents that the Giants and the Browns and the Titans sent out there, maybe, who knows? They take Shadur Sanders early and the Patriots get their hands on Travis Hunter. But if they don't, there's plenty more guys out there. We'll see what happens, and we'll have you covered here every single day on Patriots Daily and Patriots Press Pass in order to get you prepped for it. So on that note, that was our AMA. Nelson says, awesome draft. I would have to agree. Thanks, Nelson. We appreciate it. We appreciate you being here on this Friday afternoon as we continue our Patriots coverage and also continue doing these mailbags, AMAs with our members. So come back every Friday. We'll do them. We'll sit here for about an hour every time and go for it from there. But now we got to get to our weekend. Happy Friday, everyone. This was fun. Taylor, thanks for joining me. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we'll see you next time. Peace out, everyone.